Greetings, everyone. Tekking and Barry here. I'm just going to be frank with you and cut right to the chase. This is going to be part of the Tekking101 emergency broadcast system. We've all read the last chapter of One Piece. In case you haven't, then spoiler alert. But if you have read the last chapter of One Piece, you know Big Mom is on a major rampage. And so for that reason, we have to keep a level head here, okay? We can get through this, but you gotta maintain your cool, all right? If we lose that, when we're just gone, all right? So, I want everybody to reach under your chairs, or couches, or beds, or car seats, or wherever you happen to be watching this video right now, and pull out your Big Mom emergency procedure packet. It's down there. You just have to look for it. Okay, does everybody have their packet? No, seriously, look for the packet. You're not looking for your packet. Come on, this is a matter of life or death. Look for your packet. Okay, good. You got it? All right, great. Everybody's got their Big Mom emergency procedure packet. I want everybody to open up to the first page of the packet. All right. And now we have to determine what threat level of Big Mom's rampage we are currently at. They range from mint all the way up to cake. All right, so we have passed threat level mint. Okay, that was a while ago. I'm not sure if we were ever in threat level mint. All right, well, we're out past Cupcake and Jello. Maybe we were at Jello when she was, in her amnesiac state, because even in that state, she's kind of a threat. But anyway, I would say at the beginning of the battle between Law and Kid, we were at threat level Pi, but we're well beyond that. So that, of course, only leaves threat level cake. So everybody just maintain their sanity as I read what we're supposed to do. This packet contains the information that we have in order to survive, all right? So, threat level cake. Run. Just run. Why are you reading this? You are most likely dead already. Ah! Get to the bunker! Okay, so if you didn't think that Big Mom's soul fruit was already a hideously broken ability in her hands, or I guess inside of her gut, then this chapter certainly proved it. The last few chapters have really done a great job in proving that. Honestly, out of all of the Yonko, I would say Big Mom is the most technical kind of fighter, because for the most part, like, Whitebeard was definitely just like a bruiser kind of character. He's just ridiculously strong. Same thing with Kaido. Yeah, Kaido might be a duck dragon, and he has all these abilities, like, to breathe the Boro breath, and also the lightning breath, and the wind blades and everything, but still just a physical damage kind of fighter. We don't know how Shanks fights entirely, but I'm going to assume it's just pretty much the sword and hockey. We haven't seen him in a straight-up fight, but we've seen, like, glimmers of how he fights, so I don't think Shanks has, like, a bunch of really technical kind of abilities in his repertoire, and he doesn't have a devil fruit either. Blackbeard might have some stuff, but we got to see some more with him. But up until now, we've seen Big Mom having the soul fruit, and she's had this power for over 60 years, and so she's mastered it to the point where she just has a slew of techniques. I could just sit here and rattle off the different moves that she has, but just to, stay with the most, powerful ones, we have the Elbaf Spear, we have the Mazer Cannon, we have the Mazer Saber that she busted out last chapter, combining her three homies together to form the cannon or the sword, the, 3,000 Leagues of Mom's Misery or whatever, which was based off of an anime, and I think the idea there is that exists because that she misses Mother Caramel. So the idea of the misery technique, it might very well be Big Mom's strongest move, and it's inspired because of her desire to meet Mother Caramel again, that technique was created, okay? And so that just creates a homie made out of electricity and fire and raw soul energy that just obeys her every will. Kind of similar to Moria's Doppelman, kind of like a being that comes out of your own being and just completely subservient to you, but just way, way stronger than the Doppelman was, right? Although, who knows, if Big Mom ate the Kage no Mi instead of the soul fruit, she might be busting out techniques that Moria never even dreamed of, right? Okay, possible as well there. Also, the Kage no Mi and the soul fruit do have a lot of similarities because one creates zombies out of shadows, another one creates homies out of souls. So yeah. And also, we've seen that she's capable of not only tearing out the souls of those around her with her, treat or life ability, but she can also turn, homies into power sources for her as well by consuming the souls from them. And on top of that, she can also turn her broken bones and body parts into homies to magically heal them like that. Seriously, because I miss that. So let's start off with that. In the last chapter, her arm was broken through the combination attack of Law using his shock villy, and then also with Kid riding in on the giant mechanical bull, busted her arm. Okay, so it had like 2 right angles or whatever, so her arm was broken. She also mentions a few of her ribs were cracked. And so she gets up, and I assume she just used the same thing she did earlier, where she took off part of her own lifespan and then consumed it. So the idea there is that she consumes her own lifespan to get stronger. Like, she literally grows larger and just more powerful, like a kaiju, right? Okay. And I thought that was the same thing she did there, but no, she actually took the souls of others around her, or ripped the souls out of homies that already existed, and bestowed life to her broken bones, turning her broken bones into homies, and then that also magically healed them at the same time. Now, we didn't actually see what was going on inside of Big Mom's body when this happened, so that led to my and a lot of other people's confusion on what exactly happened there. But if you go back and read the chapter, after Big Mom bestows life into her arm, her broken arm, she like flexes. She's like, Mama, I'm at maximum power. Oh no, maximum power. Yes, exactly. How's that for a pun? That should be the name of her ultimate technique, not the mother's misery technique. Her ultimate technique should be to take out the sword and be like, maximum. And then like that's her ultimate move, right? But when she flexes, you literally see speech bubbles coming out of her muscles or her arms that are like, yes, mama, which is the way the homies always act, you know, like they're always immediately subservient to her, okay? So I want you to just imagine what was going on with Big Mom's broken arm, okay? So Kid broke her arm at least in like 2 or 3 different places. I'm not a doctor, ask Law, but I'm assuming there's like, I don't know, in your arm, there's like a bone. It's just one bone right here, whatever. Let's say that was broken here, here, and here. Okay, it was broken in like 3 different places, right? That means when Big Mom ripped the souls out of the others around her or the other homies and bestowed them to her arm, the bone was just like, I am sentient now. That's crazy. Oh, I better paste myself back together. And not only is the bone capable of automatically healing itself, but also makes her stronger in the process, because she was flexing. She had some guns, all right? So I don't know how that works. If she like, let's say the bone was broken into 3 different places. Did she bestow life to all 3 separate sections of the broken bone? And then the bones come to life inside of her arm, and they're like, all right, man, we gotta paste ourselves together for Big Mom. All right, so middle section, you stay locked in place. Top section, lock in. Bottom section, boom. It's like a freaking Megazord inside of Big Mom's arm. And just like, boom, full power, you know? All right, so, the reason why this is broken, literally and figuratively, is because Big Mom does not even need to use her own lifespan in order to use this ability. She literally rips the lifespan out of others around her, because that's how she usually creates homies. Yes, Hera, Prometheus, Zeus, Napoleon, they're all created with her own lifespan, so they're like special kind of homies. But most of the homies that she creates are always with the ability to rip souls out of other people and then toss them into these inanimate objects. And she usually keeps a bunch of souls on hand for that very reason, right? And even if she needs souls, it's not hard to get them. All she has to do is stomp up to some of the beast pirates or random samurai or anybody that's around her and just be like, treat or life, Oshiruko or life. And then they'll go like, I don't know, because the idea is that the fear of Big Mom or the fear of her taking your soul is what gives that technique power. And the only way to avoid it is to be so stalwart with your convictions that you like stare into Death's mom, and you look right at her and you're just like, I'm not afraid of you. And then like Jinbei was like the only person able to resist that power because of just his conviction, right? Okay, but most people do not have that. Most people do not have the conviction of Jinbei, all right? So she could stomp up to any of the random beast pirates, the waiters or the pleasures that are around her, and be like, treat or life, and they'd be like, ah, and then she just rips their souls out and consumes them or throws them into homies or whatever. And so that's the power with other people. That has nothing to do with her own lifespan, her own soul, or anything like that. And she could just do that. Think about all the possibilities there. She rips muscle ligaments or her broken bones that we saw. She ruptures an organ. Like, what happens if, let's say, for example, Kid takes like a giant drill. Like we saw him make a railgun in the last chapter. Let's say say he makes like a giant impact drill, powered by electromagnetism. So the drill is like spinning, and so it's like, I will be the drill that will pierce the heavens, and then he just like stabs Big Mom like right in the chest with this giant freaking giga drill break thing, and just rips a hole right through her and takes out one of her lungs, along with her ribs, her flesh, her muscle, her bone, just completely annihilate. There's a giant hole just in Big Mom's chest, okay? Could Big Mom just use the power of other homies to, like, repair her lungs or whatever? Or her body? Maybe that would be going a little bit too far. Maybe that's what they would actually have to do. Maybe that's how the way they're gonna have to take her out. Or, like, Law just makes, like, Kid makes the drill, and then Law uses his K-Room or Kuromu ability or whatever you want to call it, and, uses that power to, like, pierce her right through, both with the Op fruit, the internal damage, and also Kid's ability for external damage that just blasts a hole right through her and then drops her. That might be the best way to take her out. I'm not really sure if she's not taken out already from the railgun move and the puncture vile and all that kind of crap, right? But yeah, so it's pretty powerful. I mean, even if there's, like I said, like there's nobody around her, she tends to keep souls on her for that reason, kind of like stockpiled and everything like that. And this is not, of course, the base power of the soul fruit. Like, Big Mom was not capable of doing this kind of stuff as soon as she consumed, well, she didn't consume the fruit, she consumed Mother Caramel, who had the fruit. But she had the power for over 60 years, and so over the decades and decades, she's learned all these crazy abilities, so it makes sense that she would be this difficult to take down, right? So with that being said, is she down for good, right? Because it implies that if you give her an inch, if you give her any time to recover, she can literally just do that kind of whenever, unless Big Mom is down right now and loses consciousness briefly, and then Kid and Law just, like, rampage, just let loose all of their attacks. But it was revealed in the last chapter that they are pretty much out of steam. Now, that's the only thing that I have to bring up, is they've said this before. That's the only thing. Like, when they first went into their awakenings against Big Mom, they were like, these attacks drain a crap ton of stamina, and we're already pretty weakened. Because remember, they had a huge fight with Big Mom before they activated their awakenings, and then they activated them, and they're like, okay, we only got one shot with these, but then Law's been pulling them out like crazy, okay? But then again, you could also say it's like the typical shonen thing, the same thing with Luffy, where Luffy definitely has a point where he hits his limits, but then Luffy is capable of going past those limits at the cost of his own lifespan. Like, look what happened with Lucci. Like, Luffy was down, he was out in that fight with Lucci, he was about to be defeated, but he summoned up that power, that rage, that drive to save one of his crew members, to save Robin. By the way, Robin's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Robin! Sorry I forgot, but happy birthday to you. Also, here's that epic scene where she flipped Big Mom down a flight of stairs. That was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, so because Luffy had this drive in him, he was able to push back past his own limits and use Gamu Gamu no Jet Gatling to defeat Lucci. But after that, he was rendered completely immobile, and he could not move. So there was like a price to pay for pushing past the limit. Probably going to be the same thing here with Law and Kid, where, they should have really probably stopped the fight after their initial awakening moves, but they couldn't. They just have to keep going and going. Kind of the same thing when Law opened up that giant room that covered all of the mountain at Dressrosa, of the Flower Hill, and then that's when he was fighting Doflamingo and Treble and everything, right? And Law even said, this is probably going to shorten my lifespan a bit, okay? So yeah, they're just because of their strong will. We know Kid has Conqueror's Haki. I mean, if Law was revealed to have it, I don't think anybody would be surprised at this point. But just because their strong conviction in their Haki and their will, they can push past these limits, and they're kind of running on pure, like, endorphins and adrenaline right now. But after this fight is over, after utilizing their awakening so much, they are gonna feel the kickback from this, okay? And they might feel that as soon as next chapter. Like, so Kid uses his railgun technique, which is probably a really complex power to use, because you're not just pulling together a bunch of scrap metal to punch something really hard. You're literally forming a complex machine at that point, with a power source, with wires and cables and gears, and like 2 rails with different kinds of electrical magnetism charged in each one, and then firing a giant laser beam. So that's a very technical ability to use. And then you have Law's puncture technique, which he was like stabbing through Big Mom, like, deeper, gotta go deeper. Sure. By the by, go back and read that last chapter. There is a slew of sexual innuendos all throughout it. Somebody mentioned that, and I'm like, there weren't that many sexual innuendos, and I went back and reread it, and if you actually look for them, they are all over the place in that last chapter. There are so many of them. But anyway, yeah. So he's like, deeper, deeper, and then he activates that move. So it could be a thing where, okay, how did the last chapter end? It ended with Big Mom getting hit with the railgun and then getting knocked back, and then Law was like, your era is over. So we might have a scene where Big Mom, boom, she hits the ground, and then Kid and Law are there, and they're about to like argue with each other again, or be like, hey, you stole my kill, Eustace. Yeah, screw you, Trafalgar. And then, like, right in the middle of their argument, like, right when they're about to, like, make sure she's down for good, or it's like, maybe we should, do a double tap to make sure, or I guess it'd be a triple or quadruple or a septuple tap at this point to make sure she's down for good. Right as they're about to go over there and deliver the coup de grace or make sure she's down for good, that's when all of a sudden their bodies just give out. That's when Law is like, all right, let me make sure, and then he just face plants and he just hits the ground, and then Kid's like, Trafalgar, I told you overdid it, you idiot. And then that's when Kid like spews blood, and he's like, I might have overdone it as well, and then boom, he passes out too, because they gotta hit a limit. I think they already hit their limit, but there has to be a pretty big price to pay for that limit. Okay, so yeah. Now, in that situation, I could kind of see it going with Kid and Law passing out, and both of their respective crews are just like, oh no, Captain, it's okay though, they took down Big Mom. But that's when Big Mom kind of crawls back up, and she's like, mama. And like at that moment, all the members of the Heart Pirates and the Kid Pirates that are there, they just look upon Big Mom standing back up after taking all this damage, and they just realize that they're dead. Like, this is truly a demon or a devil. This is no longer a human being. This is something, Big Mom is an entity that should not exist on the mortal plane. And they're all about to just, like, give up on life. Like, it's over. It's done. We can't win. And then that's when Big Mom tries to heal herself with her soul powers, or rip out the souls of others to heal her wounds or whatever. Like this is no big deal. I could just heal myself. But then that's when her body gives out at that point from all the fights that she's been in and all the damage she's taken up until now. She fought against Marco, remember, at the beginning of this war at Onigashima. She fought against Marco, and then she fought against Kid and Law and Luffy and Killer and Zoro and everybody, on top of the Skull Dome. She took some damage there from a few attacks, and then from that moment on, she's just been brawling with Kid and Law constantly, right? So she's taken so much internal damage, so much external damage here from both of their attacks in the process. It's going to catch up to her, and at that point, her body does give out. And it's a thing with Big Mom, I will say, that Big Mom is just so used to being like this indestructible force of nature, as Sanji called her during Tauntland. She's like an indestructible iron balloon. She's so used to that. She's so used to not hitting her limit that she no longer believes she has a limit. She thinks that no matter what happens, she can always just use her own soul or the souls of others to power her up, or rely on Napoleon or Hera or Prometheus or whatever to give her new strength, okay? And it gets to a point where she literally does hit her peak. Like, she just cannot fight anymore. Also, she is older now, right? Like, she was probably in her prime when she was in her 30s or 40s, but now she's in her late 60s. And maybe this is damage that she could have recovered from when she was in her 40s or whatever, and she's like, oh, I haven't gotten this much damage on me since God Valley, but during that fight I almost died as well, and I could just consume my soul to bring myself back, so I guess I just have to do that now. But it's like she's older, and her lifespan has been shortened a few times, and then she just can't do it, and like her body just gives out and she passes out. She doesn't die, and she will eventually recover at a very fast pace, but for right now, at this moment, at this instance, she's lights out, okay? And then that'll give Kid and Law's crews enough time to like pick them up and leave. That would actually be an interesting scene to see, like the Kid's crew picking up Kid and then the Heart Pirates picking up Law, and they just kind of stare at each other and be like, well, we're enemies, but we have to make sure our captains survive, because Law's crew would know more about first aid and have more doctors and stuff rather than Kid's crew. Although they didn't really know how to deal with Luffy when he was drowning. That was kind of a thing. It was like, we already pumped all of the water out of Luffy, but now he's not waking up. Do we just inject medicine into him? We don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, come on. You're the freaking surgeon of death's crew. They didn't teach you how to save a drowning person? Come on. Right? Okay. Anyway, ostensibly Law's crew would know more about first aid and that kind of stuff, so maybe they would work together. I don't really know. But Big Mom would at least be knocked out for the period of this fight. And you know what I was thinking? Because the big question always comes up, like, what happened to Big Mom's crew, right? Like, what happened to them? Are they still at the bottom of the waterfall or what? And it would be interesting. I had the one interesting thing where Big Mom gets knocked off of the waterfall again, but this time she hits the ship on the way down, and that would be the way that they leave Wano. Like, we're done with this. But at this point, it would be rather interesting if Big Mom's crew does actually manage to get to the top of Onigashima, or get to the top of Wano. They would still have to figure out some way to get to the top of Onigashima because it's floating. But then again, well, actually, you know what could happen? Okay. What if Onigashima goes down, right? Like Momo lowers it, or Luffy does defeat Kaido, and the island crashes somewhere in the Udon region, somewhere in the wastelands of Wano. And then that's finally when Big Mom's crew arrives. Maybe they took the Mogura port. Maybe they tried to get in through another means. That's why it's taking them so long. It's like, we're not going up that damn waterfall again. So they go around to the other entrance to the Mogura port, and they get in that way. And that, I think, exits in the Hakumai region, which, depending on how far Onigashima makes it, they might be close to that. So maybe they go up through the Mogura port, and then they're on mainland Wano, and then they have to traverse on foot to Onigashima to help, Big Mom. But at that point, the fight is already over. Like, Onigashima finally lands, Kaido is defeated, Big Mom is defeated. The fight is over for all intents and purposes. And then that's when the Big Mom crew finally shows up, like Smoothie and Compote, and everybody is there. Mont d'Or, everyone's there. And like, Big Mom, no! And Big Mom's defeated, and that's when they bring her up and they carry her away. And that's basically what they're going to do. Like, Smoothie or somebody might be like, so do we stay and fight? And they're like, look, the fight's already over. We might be able to win, but I think Big Mom's life is more of a necessity. Because if Big Mom dies, then all of the homies disappear as well. And if that happens, then the entirety of Totland is basically in ruin. So they have to make sure Big Mom survives. So that would be actually a very interesting moment if it's like Luffy and everybody's already injured to the point where maybe if the Big Mom pirates wanted to, they could wipe them out. But it's like Big Mom is so close to death, they have to save her. So they get her out of Wano, carry her back to Totland, and that way Big Mom might have a role to play in the final saga, the final epic throne wars of One Piece, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Also, question before I go is, what was up with the misery then, if Big Mom really does lose consciousness? Because when Big Mom was in that crazy mental state, after remembering Mother Caramel and after having her picture destroyed by Brook, and she's like, Mama, no! And she was in this very distraught state where she wasn't really conscious. She was just letting out these screams. The homies did not deactivate. They acted a little erratically because of her mental state, but, in that state, they were still there. So that makes me wonder, like, if Big Mom is knocked out. No, that can't be the case, because she was knocked out a few times in this story, and the homies were still active. She was knocked out by Queen for a moment, and then drugged, and then, chained up, and then brought to Onigashima. So, yeah, she was unconscious for that moment. There were a few moments, like when she washed ashore on Wano, she was knocked out. Even when she had amnesia, the homies were still active, and they still remembered who they were. Like, Napoleon still remembered who he was, but he was just shy, so that's why he didn't bring up anything when Big Mom had amnesia. So knocking her out probably doesn't turn off all of the homies that are active, but if she died, it would. And that would be a problem, right? So, yeah. Anyway, so my point is with Misery, though, like, is Misery still going to be active even though Big Mom might lose consciousness from Kid and Law's combo attack? Would the Misery still be out there? Because I'm imagining Napoleon and Prometheus and Hera, they would still be active, so Misery would still be there as well. So maybe you would have another character show up. Maybe, like, Jinbei shows up to fight against the Misery or whatever and defeats her. And obviously is a threat, but not as much of a threat as Big Mom when she's conscious. So there might be something like that. Maybe the Misery and Napoleon and everybody could could pick up Big Mom and get her out of harm's way. You know, like a situation where Hera and Prometheus are like, Mama, no! And like they're about to deliver the finishing blow and they just pick her up and they just carry her away. It's like, we have to get her to safety. And then the homies get away with Big Mom, and then they run into the Big Mom crew, like Smoothie and everybody, and then they rendezvous and they just get out of Wano. Maybe something like that. Because at that point, like, Prometheus and Hera can fly, so they could literally pick up Big Mom and just carry her off of Onigashima that way, float her down to the surface of Wano, and then get off the island. It could be something like that. That would probably be the best way for them to, like, escape, right? Because even if Big Mom is unconscious from the attack, and she's not dead yet, I don't think there's really anything that the Heart Pirates or Kids crew could do to, like, finish her off for good, even if they wanted to, because her body is just so ridiculously powerful. You know, even if she's at her weakest state, you can't just take a sword and just finish her off. It's just going to snap. You have to have insanely powerful Haki or a Devil Fruit to make it work, right? Well, anyway, that's the video on Big Mom's maximum power. I do not have any elephant facts for you guys today, so I apologize for that. I want to do one on mammoths next. Mammoths, because mammoths are really cool, so we'll talk about that next time. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, everybody. This will be Tekking101 and Barry signing out.